What's up everyone, my name is Zach and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be going through 3 new releases that are perfect for spooky season and the start of the fall. Something really cool about this video is I have one book that is a YA survival horror thriller, and then I have one book that is like more adult medium horror, and then I have a book that's like pretty intense horror. That one will be last. So we're going to kind of build up an intensity of horror for this video. So thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you haven't already, subscribing to my channel helps me out a ton. It helps me get books like these for early access so I can review them for you all as they're coming out. A like on the video also goes a long way. And then I would love to know in the comments, have you read any of these books? Do you want to read any of them now? What do you think about like the reviews, and what do you think about these books? I would love to know. I am going to sip some homemade iced coffee that I've been making. I've gotten into this new like hobby of making coffee at home. A, it's cheaper and resourceful, but B, it's really good and really fun. And I'm also trying to learn how to cook. So I've just been doing that alongside like making coffee and trying to learn how to cook. Okay, so let's talk about Under the Surface first. All of these reviews are going to be spoiler free. So let's start with Under the Surface, which is that YA survival thriller. I guess we could kind of call it horror as well, but it would be like very lightly. It's more like a YA survival thriller, which I feel like is perfect for this time of year too. Like anything super intense and a little bit dark. So this is the story about a group of teenagers who go on a trip to Paris, and a group of them get stuck and locked in the catacombs underneath, like, they're underground because they're catacombs. And it's the story of them being trapped. And then one girl in particular, her name is like Ruby or Rose, I can't exactly remember her name, but she is a YouTuber, and she has a YouTube channel where she does like travel vlogging. And so she kind of gets this group together to go down in the catacombs, and they get stuck and are in need of rescue. And then there's a guy on the top who is like putting together all the rescue efforts and trying to find his friends. Like he's the one who first realizes that they've went missing. So there's like this dual POV, dual timeline, or yeah, dual POV, not dual timeline. But I listened to this book on audio. I gave it 4 stars. So thank you to Ping and Random House Audio for giving me early access to this book. It is very good on audio. I would highly recommend it that way because it's dual narration. And so the perspective of the guy at the top on the ground level has his own voice actor, and then the main girl that's below with the group has a different voice actor, and so it really adds to the back and forth of the story. So this is like a thriller. There's survival elements to it. Like on the top, there's this race against time to find his friends, and then below they are trying to survive and get through. And meanwhile, the group that's below, there's a lot of drama going on with them. Like before they got stuck under there was a lot of drama. They're a bunch of teenagers, and so you can kind of expect that to be the case in a book like this. However, like when I was reading it, I was thinking, yeah, this is like relatable. I can imagine that when I was this age, this sort of thing would have happened. But the reason I kind of docked a star from this and it wasn't a 5-star was like 2 reasons. One, some of the drama was a little bit beyond petty, and I felt like some of it I felt like was for convenience and to add flair or to add drama in places where it didn't really need to be. Like the survival aspect of it was dramatic enough, in my opinion. And so that I didn't love. Again, I understand some of it because they're teenagers. That makes sense. The other reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because the guy on the top who's like searching for his friends, there felt like a disconnect between his story and the group below, which is hard to imagine because the whole point of the guy above is to search for the group below. But there somehow felt like a real disconnect in their stories. It's hard to explain. You'd have to read the book to understand what I'm saying. But it was nothing too drastic. Like I never wanted to DNF this book. I felt like it was a solid 4-star. Like I could even make a case for it to be a 4.5. I don't think I could make a case for it to be a 5. But there was a lot of good to this story, and I truly did really enjoy it. Again, especially on audio. I have some notes here I wanted to look at to make sure I mention everything. So also in the story, because it takes place in Paris in these catacombs, it's actually based on a true story. You find that out at the very beginning of the book. And I actually looked into the true story that it was based on. It's very, very, very loosely based on a true story. I looked up like the details of it, and there's not a lot of information about it. Essentially what I could find was this group of 3 teenage boys got locked in the catacombs below Paris. I believe it's below Paris. I know it's in France, but I believe it's below Paris. And I know like in real life they go miles and miles. They go a really long ways. But they got locked. The true story is that this 3 teenage boys got locked below for like 3 days or so, and they suffered like really bad hypothermia. But yeah, that was kind of the true story. So this is very loosely based on that. And I will say, like, the story has a lot of creativity, and it was never boring. The pacing was really good. There's a lot of history to it too. Like, the author takes time to like slow down and talk about the catacombs and talk about some of the deaths of the bodies in the catacombs. Obviously, I think most of them are fictional, but they were probably loosely based on how people may have actually died during that time. So yeah, I thought that it was really entertaining. It was kind of sad at times, and it was spooky. Like, being in the catacombs definitely adds to some of the spooky elements, which is why I'm recommending it for like a fall read. Another thing that I didn't love about this book was the ending got a little bit wild, again, in ways that I didn't feel like it had to be. I guess for me personally, the whole survival aspect of them being stuck underneath was like enough for me. But then there's like a whole, I did like, so someone's also, they don't know if it's paranormal or if it's real, but there's something or someone chasing them below the catacombs as well, or they think so. And the resolution of all of that was interesting in some ways and not in other ways. I don't know how to explain it. You just have to read the book. And if you do, please let me know in the comments like what you thought. Because again, like, my overall rating of this is that I did really enjoy it. It was really creative, and there was so much that I did love about the book. It would make a really great movie as well. Like, I think this would be like the perfect movie. Like, it read like a movie so well too. There's another aspect that gets a little bit repetitive. So this is not a spoiler, but you find this out really early on, and it's just repeated again and again throughout the story, which is that our main character's mom passed away during childbirth, and that kind of haunts her. I thought that was really unique. I was like, this is a really interesting element to the story, and I can see why this would be traumatic for the main character. However, it just like, it keeps repeating over and over again and is used in ways that didn't make sense for the trauma and just felt like it was just being brought up again. So I didn't really love that. Like, I would have loved it had it not been so repetitive. Yeah, the ending kind of drags out a little bit. And I would also say that it's like very audience appropriate. Like, it's very appropriate for the YA audience. And I don't know, I think like teenagers would really, really enjoy this book, and adults alike, especially if you're looking for something that's not super dark or super intense horror, but you want something like a little more spooky than you typically read. I would definitely recommend this. Okay. Now that we're getting caffeinated at like 5:30 on a Saturday, let's go. Or a Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday. RIP. Okay. Anyways, so going up in intensity, now I'm going to talk about an adult novella. This book is called Haunt Sweet Home. And I do need to say thank you to NetGalley. I got early access to the audio for this book. The audio is amazing. It's spectacular. I would highly, highly recommend the audio for this one as well. So the first 2 books I read on audio, would recommend them both and taking that way. So Haunt Sweet Home is a very, very interesting story. I gave it 5 stars. I really loved it, mostly because the premise is so unique. So we have a main character. She's kind of down on her luck. She's having a hard time in life, and it needs a little bit of a change up. And so she goes to work for, I think it's her cousin, a close family member's company. And his company is basically, if you mashed up HGTV house flipping renovation with a like fake paranormal ghost adventure. So if you like mix those 2 things together. I know, interesting. I felt like it was so unique, and I really, really enjoyed that aspect. So for example, these people get his company to like remodel their house, and they already know that it's haunted. Like, they've purchased houses that are like supposed to be haunted and for like lower price too, and they need fixing up. So this guy on the set of the TV show, it's a reality TV show, he hires people. There's the night crew and the day crew. So the night crew does like fake hauntings with fog machines and like makes it all spooky and everything. And then the day crew does like the house flipping and the like the house flipping and the remodeling. I'm gonna look up this quote that's actually in the synopsis because I think it like demonstrates the difference here. So it says, "Don't talk to the day about what we do at night." I love that quote, and it's a good representation of this story because the day crew do something entirely different from the night crew. Anyways, the main girl in this book goes to work for the night crew and starts doing like hauntings and things like that. But then something eerie, like more real things start happening that are really spooky. And she's trying to figure out like, are ghosts real? Are these hauntings actually real? Like, what is happening? So I gave this book 5 stars. However, I think that if you don't have the right expectations going into this book, which I'm going to try to set you up for, you might be let down. So the Goodreads synopsis says that it's like really spooky. It's really scary. There's a lot of jump scares. Like it's supposed to be really, really like tense and scary. It's not. This book is not really tense and it's not really scary, in my opinion. Maybe there were like some spooky elements during some of the haunts, but the main point of the story is like a more character-driven story about this girl and her journey, and like she's going through self-discovery at the same time as working for this production company. And it's a lot about, oh, I just kicked the camera. That was not in fact a ghost. That was just me being very I was talking with not only my hands, but my legs. Anyways, so there's a lot of character development around her going to work for this production company and things like that. That being said, if you are super sensitive to like horror and spookiness, this might be in like the high level of your tolerance, but should still be tolerable. I would think the audio is really cool because it has like sound effects from the show and stuff like that. And I loved that. Again, I would highly recommend taking it on audio. I gave this book 5 stars. I thought that the atmosphere was really, really awesome. And it was such a unique, my favorite thing about this book was the like unique story behind it. Like that mashup of ghost hunting, it being fake. Some things are fake. What's real, what's not real. And then like the HGTV element. Like I was just so obsessed with that premise that I loved this book. So easy 5 stars from me. So not only are we ranking up in terms of horror, but we're ranking up in terms of my review as well. So the next book, or the last book that we're going to talk about for this video, that I hope will set you up for a good start to spooky season, is a new release called Guillotine. And this is by the author of Bloom, which is a book that I've wanted to read for a long time and haven't, but I definitely will pick up now. So I ended up rating this a new favorite, and I'm going to explain why. So for me, a new favorite just means it was beyond 5 stars. And it's a way that at the end of the year, I can put all my books together and figure out which ones stood out. And this one sure did stand out. It sure did. So I already filmed this video once today, and there was an issue with my mic. And so I'm refilming it. But something that happened when I was filming this the last time is that I actually said, oh, it's really good on audio, and I would recommend it on audio. And then I caught myself and realized that I did not listen to it on audio. The reason I'm bringing this back up is because what I said the last time I filmed it through that realization is that this book is written incredibly well, so well that it felt like I was listening to the story in my head, even though it was me reading it. I'm very sorry for this crow outside. I hope if you guys can hear that it's adding to the ambiance of this video. But the writing is so well done. It's so descriptive and atmospheric that I actually for a second thought that I listened to it on audio and that the audio was good, but really it was just me being in my own head and so engrossed in the story. So I felt like that was important enough that I bring up again. So what's the story about? This story is about our main female character, which I can never remember the names of people. Maybe I should look up. Okay. I'm going to do it anyways. I was like, does it matter? Does it not? We're going to do it anyways. This book can be hard to locate for some reason. Like, even when I spell it correctly on Goodreads and on Google, it can be hard to locate, and I don't know why. Also, while I'm looking up the main character's name, I'm not sure if this is a novella or not. It's about 200 pages, and I forget what constitutes as a novella and what constitutes as a book. For some reason, I'm thinking it's 220 pages, but I'm not sure. So, oh yeah, this synopsis says the menu meets Ready or Not, and I would agree with that. Oh yeah, her name is Des, and she's dating Patrick. Okay, so our main female character's name is Des, and she meets this guy in a club one night and finds out that his mom her name's like Marie, and she's a very, very influential, rich, and powerful fashion designer, and that's what Des wants to do with her life. And so Patrick's a jerk. That's her son and the guy that she's meeting at this club. He's a jerk. She can't stand him. He's like actually awful. But she like starts dating him to try to get close to his mom, which I know sounds unbelievable, but it's written in a way that felt believable. Let's take a quick drink of coffee before we talk more about this, because it's gonna get wild. Also, sometimes my voice gives out, so a little bit of liquid to get through this, because this is not the first time I'm filming this video. Anyways, so she dates him to get closer to his mom. She gets invited to the island for a big family gathering, and when she gets there, she has to sign an NDA, so a non-disclosure agreement, meaning they take her phone, they take everything from her, and she cannot, when she gets off the island, presumably, she cannot mention anything about what she saw or what happened. So she has to sign that away, which again, sounds like, why would anyone ever do that? But she's already on the island. She's already kind of stuck in the situation and had no idea that this was going to be happening. So, and she also is like really poor. That's a big commentary in this book throughout the whole book, is the like difference between the really, really wealthy and then people who are like either like average citizens or are poor. Like at this point, the difference is getting greater and greater. So I love reading about that in books because it feels relatable to me. Yeah. So there's a lot of commentary about that and like selfishness of the rich and how they live like so differently from anyone else in society. But anyways, so she ends up on the island, she signs a non-disclosure agreement, and she's like, okay, I'll stay because I really want to get close to his mom. Again, very believable. So as time goes on, there are these people that work for the family. They're like workers, and they're all dressed in pink, which is really interesting. One of the notes that I wrote down in my app for this book was, on Wednesdays we wear pink. And if you read this book, you'll understand why that's even more hilarious. And you should read the book so that you can get in line with my Mean Girls joke there, because honestly, I'm pretty proud of it. But it's not really a joke. It's like a relation that is more interesting if you've read the book. So there's these people that work for the family. They all wear pink. They're very odd. They don't talk very much. They don't interact very much. And then, this is not a spoiler, it's literally in the synopsis, pretty early on, what happens is the workers take over and they start killing the family. And it's very interesting. It's very horrific. So something to know about this book is it is very graphic. The kills are so imaginative, like in a good way, I felt. I mean, it's very unsettling. It's very creepy. Like, this is like kind of top of the line horror for me. I would consider it extreme for me, but it's not extreme horror by any means. But it was for me. Like, some of those kills will stick in my head forever. They were insane, but in the best way. Make sure you read the author's note. I think it's really important to know where some of the creativity of this came from and where some of the trauma was built from, because the author is very open about that. And I felt like that made the book even more meaningful. But I loved this. It's like a revenge story. It's a survival story. Also would make a really great movie. Let me check my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, the kills are really imaginative. I talked about how it was really well written. It's witty. There's a lot of commentary on rich people and their absurdity. It's just rich people behaving badly, like at its best. Like, this is a new favorite for me because I've never read anything like it. Like, it felt really creative and unique. Honestly, I really enjoyed all the books in this video, which is why I didn't want to refilm it because I'm like, I've already said all these things. But I wanted to refilm this video because I wanted you all to know about all of these books because I really enjoyed them. And so I'm hoping I'm passing on information to you that will help you pick up something really spooky this fall season. Like, all three of these books are great for spooky season. They're great for fall. If you're listening to this video at a later date, honestly, you could read any of them anytime if you're in the mood for what I've described. I had such a great time. I had such a great time with all of these books, and I've actually talked a lot longer in this edition of the video than I did in the first one. But yeah, now my camera is overheating because it was much cooler this morning, and now it's much hotter because that's how September works. It's cool in the morning, hot in the afternoon. But it's still much cooler than it was like 2 weeks ago when I was filming, so I'll take that. So yeah, in summary, I gave Under the Surface 4 stars, really good YA survival thriller. And then I gave Haunt Sweet Home 5 stars, really unique adult horror novella. And then I gave Guillotine a new favorite, very interesting, like murder, mystery, island, survival, horror, great kills. Just a really fun time, but like in a way that almost makes you feel guilty because you're like, should not be enjoying this, but I am. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I don't want it to cut off and I lose my footage like I did one other time. It's been a struggle. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.